Could you briefly describe your educational journey? What subjects or activities did you enjoy in elementary school?
I went through the British school system as normal until I turned 16. After that, I took the International Baccalaureate and then studied geography at university. After finishing my bachelor's degree, I moved on to do a master's and then a PhD in the field of marine geology. I do have to be honest and say that in elementary school and also high school, my favourite subjects were probably English and foreign languages. I wasn't really that interested in traditional sciences like physics or chemistry.
What inspired you to pursue your specific field within STEM?
As I said, I was not all that interested in science initially, but while I was working on my undergraduate degree, I had the most amazing opportunity to participate in an Erasmus exchange program to Svalbard, which is in Arctic Norway. And I went mostly because I wanted the chance to experience seeing polar bears and the northern lights. But when I was there, I took a course in Arctic marine geology, and I was just so fascinated by everything I learnt. And that just really hooked me from there. So marine geology was not something I'd ever studied before. It wasn't really something I'd ever considered having a career in. But I quickly realised it was something I wanted to explore further.
What does a typical day look like for you in your role?
That's a really good question, but one of the best things about being a marine geologist is that there isn't necessarily such a thing as a typical day. A day in the life of a marine geologist can be many things. For example, you might spend a day out at sea taking sediment samples. You might be in the lab processing those samples. Maybe you're examining those samples under the microscope looking for fossils. Or you could be teaching a lecture or a lab. There are just so many different opportunities in this field.
What do you find most rewarding about your work in STEM?
I love the fact that the work I do helps contribute to the bigger field of ocean research, so that in my own small way, I get to be a part of protecting and conserving the oceans for future generations.
Can you share some of the challenges you've faced in your career and how you've overcome them?
As someone who did not initially have a strong science background, I really struggled with feeling like an imposter, like I wasn't qualified to be working in my field. And to be honest, imposter syndrome is a very difficult thing to overcome. And there are times that even now, I do still feel this way sometimes. So I just have to remind myself that a lot of very qualified people also struggle with this feeling. And that I have just as much right as my colleagues to be working in this field.
Have you ever felt underestimated or faced significant obstacles because of being a woman in STEM? How did you handle these situations?
I have to say that I've been very lucky not to experience this personally, because throughout my academic life and my career, I've had several female mentors who have encouraged me to pursue my goals and made me feel valued as a scientist.
Were there any role models or mentors who influenced your career path in STEM?
Yes, as I mentioned, there have been a number of highly successful women scientists who have guided me on my path. For example, I chose to pursue a PhD in the United States, mainly because I wanted the opportunity to work with one such woman whose research interests were very similar to mine. She's definitely had a huge influence on my career to date. And even now that I'm no longer working with her, I'm really happy knowing that I can still reach out to her for guidance.
How important do you think mentorship is in STEM fields, especially for young women?
Mentorship is a really important part of any career, not just STEM, because the people who are already established in your field have such a wealth of knowledge and experience to share. You can learn so many different skills from your mentors, not all of them academic. I already mentioned that my PhD advisor has been a wonderful mentor, and that was with respect to teaching me about things specific to my field, like how to conduct research, how to interpret data, how to publish results. But I can also think of other mentors who have taught me different skills. For example, I worked as a teaching assistant to one of the geology professors in my department for a while, and she became another mentor to me, and she really helped me to develop my teaching skills, and find creative ways to get students engaged in science.
How do you manage work-life balance in a demanding field like yours?
Work-life balance is always going to be a challenge in any profession, and it's important that you learn how to prioritize. Understand that sometimes it's necessary to take time for yourself, and that's okay. In fact, that's actually something that should be normalized in the workplace. As an example, if you're overwhelmed by work, sometimes taking even a short break, for example, you might want to go for a walk or take a yoga class to reset, that can make all the difference.
What advice would you give to young women who worry about maintaining personal and professional life balance in STEM careers?
Again, this is a question of priorities, and it's very much a personal decision. You have to decide what's important to you and set boundaries based on this. For example, you may have a colleague who does choose to devote most of their time to work, but maybe you have other responsibilities, other interests that require more of your time. And that's perfectly okay. You're actually more likely to be successful if your whole life is not revolving around work, because that likely is going to lead to burnout down the road.
In your opinion, why is it important to have more women in STEM?
It's not that I think we need necessarily more women or more men, it's just that historically men have been dominant in STEM fields. And as we all know, women are every bit as capable as men. So I just want all women to know that they are welcome in STEM and that they belong there just as much as men.
What changes have you seen in terms of diversity in your field during your career?
For me personally, I've not seen that much change, but that's because I only joined the field in recent years, and I've been really fortunate to work in a diverse environment and collaborate with scientists from many different countries. I do know, however, that the number of women in STEM has increased a lot over the past few decades, although we do still have a ways to go, as many STEM careers are still male-dominated.
What advice would you give to a young girl considering a career in STEM?
I would say don't be afraid to think outside the box when exploring STEM careers. There are so many career options out there that you might not even have considered. As in my case, I really happened upon my line of work completely by chance. It wasn't part of the regular school curriculum. So be open to trying new things and taking opportunities when presented, because you just never know where they might lead.
What skills do you think are essential for success in STEM fields today?
Beyond the obvious, like a passion for your chosen subject and a willingness to work hard in that field, I think that soft skills are really important, especially networking. As an example, imagine you're a student presenting a scientific poster at the conference. The whole experience will be so much more valuable to you if you take the time to speak to people. This not only allows you to get feedback on your work from more experienced scientists, but also to make connections with potential future employers or colleagues. I'd add that the ability to collaborate and work as part of a team is also very important. In the science field nowadays, the work is often very interdisciplinary, so you're likely to be working with people from a lot of different backgrounds. For example, I mainly work with historical climate data from the oceans, but there's been times when I've needed to collaborate with other people, for example, climate modelers. So for this, I need to have both the connections and also the ability to collaborate.
What keeps you motivated and passionate about your work in STEM?
Very easy to remain passionate about my work because I work in such a dynamic and such a fast-paced field. There are always new findings being published, so it's very exciting to be a part of all that and to contribute to that. And on the flip side, this also helps to keep me motivated, knowing how important it is to keep up with all the new developments occurring in my field.